Hi everyone, Melanie here from the Painted Bench. We've been selling a lot of these together kits the last couple of days, and I just wanted to put a video together to let you know how we're doing our handprints and how we're getting the stencil on. So you can see that I've already base coated my board. I used Paris Gray as the base coat. I'm going to be using Athenian Black for my stencil, and my handprint's going to be put on here with Old White. My husband's going to come along later after my handprint's dry and put his on, and then I think we're going to add the dog and the cat to the board because that's our little family. We don't have any kids left at home. Unfortunately, we're not seeing our grandkids at this time, so we can't add theirs onto this, but that's okay. We'll see them soon enough. So we're going to start with the stencil part. We're going to flip it over so that the backing paper, the gridded backing paper, is facing up, and we're going to start peeling the backing off. So remember from other videos, if you've watched them, we're going to keep that backing paper nice and close to the stencil. We're just going to walk it back slowly. Anything that sticks onto the backing paper, we're just going to push it down right at the roll. Keep your eye on the whole length of the roll to make sure nothing is lifting off. If it does, just stick it back down again. You don't want to do this too fast. You want to be able to keep an eye on all the parts that you're peeling back from to make sure that you haven't ripped anything, nothing is sticking to the backing paper where it shouldn't. So this little E got away from me, so I just rolled it back into place. Just take your time. First time you do this might be a little bit nerve-wracking, but it's okay. Don't worry, you can stick your fingers on the stencil. You can't hurt it. And there we go. If anything sticks to your backing paper, you can pick it off with a large straight pen or something like that. We have weeding tools here. If you have that at home, it's perfect for this kind of thing. Some people might have dental picks for other crafting that they do. They work pretty well as well. So I've trimmed the edge of the corner of my stencil off so that's nice and square with the blue stencil part, so that I can tuck this right up onto the corner of my board and get it lined up so it's nice and clean right on the edge. So you can move this around until you have smoothed it down. Once you've smoothed it down, it's there. You're going to lose all the centers of your letters if you try to pick it up. I'm using squeegee that's specifically meant for vinyl work. If you haven't got one of these, you can always use an old gift card or an old credit card. So that's nicely stuck down. I'm going to turn the board around and I'm going to start peeling the backing paper off. Same thing as that, sorry, the transfer tape off. Same thing as I did with the backing paper. Keep it nice and flat to the surface. Don't make a roll of this. Eventually it'll catch up to you and you won't be able to keep rolling. So just keep pulling it off until you get to the end. And there you go. So my stencil is nicely in place, all ready to be painted. So there's a couple ways to do this. I have a stencil brush. I also have makeup sponges. If you've ordered a kit from us, you're going to get makeup sponges in your box in case you don't have stencil brushes at home. Either way, not having too much paint in either one of these is the way to stencil so that you don't get paint oozing underneath the edges of the stencil. So I'm going to be using Athenian Black, like I said before. I'm just going to get a little spoonful, put it on my paper. So this is just the backing paper from my stencil, but it makes a nice shiny surface to put my paint on. You are going to be getting little containers of paint in your kit. I don't have one here, but little containers of paint in your kit. It's probably 2 or 3 times more paint than you're going to need to do this stencil. I put way too much paint out here for this particular project. make sure that you have a paper towel handy. You're going to need to scrub off your brushes or your sponge on a paper towel. So I'm just going to load up my brush, if you have one, on the edge of the puddle, nicely loaded, not too much paint on there, and I'm going to scrub some paint off. I'm going to go to my stencil and I'm going to swirl. So with Athenian black, it's a nice, thick, rich, pigment-rich color. I'm getting one coat coverage in this particular case. Some of the lighter colors you might need to do a second coat. If you do, just let this one dry thoroughly and then go back. So you can see the little bit of paint that I put in that brush, I'm still using it. So just for a quick demonstration with the makeup sponge, I'm going to blend the paint into the end of the makeup sponge and dab some of it off. Then I'm just going to push it. Push it into the stencil. And these, you can clean the paint out of these so that if you want to save them for another project, you can. This is a little slower, but it works just as well. You can leave a little bit more paint in your sponge than you normally do in your brush. So that's how you do it with the sponge. I'm just going to finish this off with my brush. It's a little quicker. Doesn't take long at all. If you're a little worried about being too close to the edge, you can always run a piece of painter's tape around the edge of your stencil and on the side, just to make sure that you don't get paint hanging off the edges. If you do, though, a baby wipe or a damp paper towel will wipe the paint off the edges if that's what happens, or you can always touch it up with your base coat color. So we're done. Everything's covered. I'm just going to peel my stencil off. Pretty easy. That's garbage. You can't use it again. What we will want to do, though, is pick out all the centers of the letters. I'm using my weeding tool, but a nice straight pen, a little bit longer straight pen will work just as well. So that's how you do that. I'm not going to do any more of that. I want to get on with my handprint, because this is the fun part. So I have a mix mat here. It's made by Annie Sloan. It's a really great silicone sheet. The paint doesn't stick to it. It's wonderful for this kind of thing. I need to find my can opener. Here it is. I'm going to get a little bit of my old white out onto the board again. The paint that you have in your little cup will be more than enough. That's probably too much paint that I just put out there, but that's okay. I'm going to use a chip brush to just spread this out. Oh yeah, I have way too much paint on here. That's okay. Spread it out more than I would normally. Make sure that you spread it out large enough for your hand. If you have a big hand and you're worried about not fitting on here, keep your thumb a little closer. Otherwise, you can spread your hand out nicely. I'm just going to put my hand in the paint. So you can see how much paint I have on my hand. You need that much. I'm going to start my handprint right up at the top. I'm going to push my palm down, my fingers down. Make sure that everything that has paint on it is making contact with the board. And then when I peel it off, I have a beautiful handprint. So I'm going to let this dry. Then my husband's going to come along with his hand, overlapping my hand, and then you can work your way down. So the more people you have in your family, the closer you want to get your handprints together so that you have enough space to get to the bottom. And then I think we'll put the little cat print over here on the bottom where we have a space. So that's it, everybody. Hope you enjoyed this video of our Together kit. If you have any questions, feel free to call the shop. The number here is 289-389-9281, and you can order your very own Together kit on our website, thepaintedbench.ca. Thanks. Bye-bye.